All right, click the button. We are live. All right, hi everyone. My name is Jenny. I'm currently in Orlando. I run the Orlando Developers JavaScript Meetup. And incoming over here, we have Chris, who runs the PHP Meetup. So we're streaming in from Orlando, and we also have Shane here and Simon here. If you guys can do a short little intro.
I'm Shane.
I'm Simon.
We're the co-founders of NativePHP.
Amazing. You guys are streaming in from like different places. We got someone in Shane in South Carolina, and then Simon over from the Canary Islands. So thank you so much for tuning in today. A little bit about Orlando Devs. I don't have the slides connected, but we're a nonprofit, and we like to connect the community together with all the developers in Orlando. Whatever tech stack that you work with, we just want to bring you all together and like socialize and network. And then tonight, we're going to start off with Simon and Shane talking about NativePHP. So I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Thanks, Jenny.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Jenny. That's great. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I hope you're having a good evening. And I just want to say before we get really into it, thanks very much to everybody who's organized the event. Thanks to Chris for inviting us along and Jenny for organizing all of this stuff. Hope you're enjoying the food and drinks and stuff that's there. I wish I could enjoy some chicken with you. That sounded really good. Yeah, so what are we here to talk about? We're going to talk about, for just a few minutes, NativePHP. And for those of you that have maybe never heard of NativePHP, we'll give you just a little intro and then we'll get into showing some stuff because that's what we're really here to do, show you how it works. So NativePHP is a new way to build native applications with PHP. Yes, it's all in the name. And for the last year, we've been focusing on how to do that with mobile applications. So for Android and iOS. And earlier this year, we kind of cracked that and we released it to the world and we've been building it ever since. And so Shane and myself have gone full time on NativePHP now, and we're building all sorts of stuff, and we'll talk about some of that as we get into it. The cool thing is that PHP as a language, as you might be aware, has been around for a reasonably long time. In tech, it's a bit of an old guy. It's 30 years old this year. A little bit younger than me, as it happens, unfortunately. I'm 40 in a few days. But anyway, 30 years of PHP, and in all that time, it's never been able to do what we can now do with it thanks to NativePHP. And that is to run PHP natively, offline first, on phones. So it's very cool, it's very fast, and it's very fun. And I want to show you just how quick you can get up and running building native applications with PHP. So that's what we're going to do. No more yakking, straight into the fun stuff. So let me just share my screen. So I'm going to create a brand new project. Because it's PHP, there's a whole load of things here that if you're not in the world of PHP, you might not be so familiar with. But like all other languages and tools, we've got package management, we've got command line interfaces, we've got all the cool toys that all of the cool kids have. So PHP's really caught up in the last few years. So what I'm going to do is create a new Laravel project. NativePHP is built on a framework called Laravel. And Laravel sits on top of PHP and just makes building web applications very, very easy. We've now bent it into the shape of building native applications. So I can use Laravel new command just to create a new project. So I'm going to create this Orlando PHP native and let that go. We can create any kind of web project that we want to create. So Laravel comes with great support for React, for Vue, and its own kind of framework that's sort of trying to step away from JavaScript and use more PHP called Livewire, which is very familiar to folks if you've used Phoenix Live View or HTMX and other tools similar to that. But for this one, I'm just going to use the React starter kit. I'm going to skip through some of these steps. I'm not here to explain how Laravel works. So we'll just run through some of this stuff. I'm going to skip the boost things. We'll talk about all of those things in questions. If you've got anything about Laravel, happy to answer those later on. So we'll get to that. But just for now, I'm going to run through this stuff really quickly. I could keep my eye on what it's doing. It doesn't normally hang at this point, so this is quite interesting. Is it a me thing? It's just taking its time. Cool. Panic over. My heart can start beating again.
Me too.
I love how you were there to help me, Shane. Just providing really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm here really just for the comic relief, just so everybody's aware. I'll be interjecting holiday themed jokes, dad jokes, whenever there's a lull. So that was the first one. I wanted to feel out the room, see how everybody was going to kind of react when there was a lull without me. We'll see on the next one.
This is very interesting. It's going slow at all of the important steps that are nothing to do with anything that I wanted to show you. So
well, let me ask then, where do reindeer get their coffee?
I don't know. Where do reindeer get their coffee?
Starbucks.
Ah. I hope they get better after this one. I'm leaning to the side a little bit because my camera's in the way of the screen. Okay, this is a good point. It's prompting me to run my npm stuff. So I'm going to install and build just because I know that I'm going to want that. Yes, Laravel takes care of all of this kind of stuff out of the gate. So you don't have to worry about configuring half of the things that you might be used to configuring if you've done any web development. It just works. Right. And now I think it's about to finish and tell me that I can go into the project. Maybe it already has.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think you can see it.
No, I can, but it hasn't quite. Something's gone wrong with my terminal, I think. Which is not fun.
Santa's a pretty good shopper, right? Do you know why he's such a good shopper? Because he makes a list and he checks it twice.
Thanks for that.
That's funnier than your delay here.
It definitely is. Only marginally. I think some people will laugh at the delay. So we've changed into the directory that it's created for this project. So I've done anything other than install Laravel at the moment, but that's a good starting point. Now, just to prove that it's working, I'm going to open this project in my browser. So we should see this come up. And even that is going slow. This is going to be a good day. I mean, I've literally tested this just before doing this and it hasn't been like this. So this is very interesting. I'm going to put that to one side. We're going to press ahead because I don't know why that's going slow right at this particular moment, but we will assume that it's working. I'll let you know if it does come up. And the next thing that we want to do is just install NativePHP. There's a little bit of a hop and a step to get to this point. I've already done a bunch of things like installing Xcode and Android Studio, which you do need to build native applications for those platforms. But you also need a NativePHP license. I've got one of those set up, so this will all just run, but I can paste in a simple command here, installing the package into my composer JSON, which is the package management file. And then I can install the package itself. So I do that. So if you're keeping tabs, I've done 3 commands now. If you ignore the herd open one where I tried to get it to work in the browser, which for some reason doesn't want to work, but I've clearly broken my system in between takes. So 3 commands. Fourth, I'm just adding an app ID to my env file. So that's simple. Now I'm going to actually install the library itself into my application. So this is, I'm just going to install it for iOS here. Command number 5. That was nice and quick. Thank you, computer gods. Now I'm going to open the project in my editor. I'm just going to use Sublime for speed for now. And because I'm using a React project, I need to install just a few things into my Vite config file and my package.json. So I'm going to show you what those look like to see how easy that is. So I'm going to open up my, that is the wrong app to do Command P on. Vite conf. I should do, yeah, it is this one. I need to import my NativePHP plugin. I'm going to add that plugin as a plugin to my Vite config. If you've not used Vite, again, if you've got any questions about any of this stuff, we'll come to it later. So hold on to those. Happy to answer any of that stuff for you. And the other thing is this hot file. It's not a plugin, it's a function. We have to add this to our Laravel plugin configuration. And once we've got that, I'm going to save. And the other thing that I want to do is just import into my package.json a JavaScript library, basically. So we don't distribute this as a package via npm. We have this all bundled together in the one composer package, just to keep things simple and consolidated for now. So that's nice and easy to add. And then when we want to add the JavaScript into our existing React application, so if I, in a Laravel application, that will be in resources, JS, things like pages, all of this is TypeScript and React. So for anybody who's familiar with that, this should feel right at home. I can then come in here and basically import all sorts of things from, and it will be native PHP because that's the alias that I've used down here, which, yep, again, once you've got that, it will all make sense. So I can do things like accessing the microphone or the camera, all from that JavaScript library, which is very handy. Now, this is a fresh application and we're not going to have all of that stuff ready to use. So I'm just going to comment that out. But what I do want to show is that it actually works on a device. I'm going to use a simulator. It's basically the same as a real device. And I want to show a couple of the cool things that we've got going here. So what's this one? Command number 6, something like that. Let's start this up. And I want to run this on a 17 Pro Max, like the greatest phone there is, which I've actually got already open here. So this should boot up in a moment. Any jokes, Shane?
Always. Why do reindeer have fur coats?
Enlighten us.
Because they don't fit into parkas. It's that easy.
I don't get it.
That's all right. You're British. What did the reindeer say to Santa? How about this? Anybody in the room? What did the reindeer say to Santa? Nothing. Reindeer can't talk. Enjoy the chicken.
Shocking. Good timing though. Our app has launched. So this is the Laravel starter page. This is what you would have seen in the browser if it had worked, if I hadn't broken my local setup. But this is now working on the phone. this works on a real device too. I can do exactly the same. I can use that one command and run it on a real phone. And the cool thing about this is you might be thinking, if you're used to web, oh, in web, I can use npm run dev and I can watch for changes, or, you know, like these commands that let us do hot module reloading on all of this kind of lovely fast development feedback cycle stuff. And I don't have to maybe compile my application, or it doesn't take 10 minutes to compile my application. And, you know, I love working on the web. But we've brought that to native development too. So you might have seen that I put this watch flag on the end of this command. And that is leaving this command running. And it's actually running the Vite hot module reloading under the hood. And it's connecting that to what's running on the simulator. And it will even do it on a real device too, which means I can go to my editor and I can make changes and they will show up. He says, very hopefully, given all the stuff that's broken so far. So I'm going to just change some text on this button just to show that this works. So this deploy now button, and we're just going to say, hello, Orlando, and save. Great. No rebuilding, recompiling, no waiting minutes and minutes for our app to update on the device. And the cool thing about this in particular with native PHP is that because it's hot reloading everything, it's hot reloading all of the JavaScript and CSS, but it's also hot reloading fixed static files and the system. So if we change anything across this application, it will get pushed over to the device and it will get updated in real time. And because it's got access to all of the native functionality that's available, we can actually start building with the native functionality in mind and start doing whatever we want and start testing and building our application. So let's switch to a project that's actually got some native stuff in it. So I don't have to go and build all of this stuff from scratch. So I'm going to switch back to the terminal. We can close this one down. Quit that one. We can quit this. I'm going to switch to our kitchen sink application, which we've got. It's built in Vue, so it's not quite React, but, you know, Vue's great. React is okay. So here we're going to do I think I need to do a composer update just to make sure. In fact, before I do any of that, I'm going to open it up in Sublime again and just check a couple of things, because I may have some stuff here that I don't want. Yeah, I need to change this. So this is, I'm going to fetch this from the docs, because if I don't, I'll get it wrong. Quick start. Thank you. And then we should be able to just get this installed. Whilst we're waiting, oh, go on, Shane, you're going to say something.
I was going to ask, how do snowmen shop online? They use the winternet.
I like that one.
There you go. Got one.
Got one. So let's have a look at something we can do. Let's go with a microphone. So in here, we should have our native PHP import. We have. So we've got a microphone imported, a microphone API. So let's see what that can do. It's got things about recording. This sounds about right, pun intended. And we've got functions about recording.
Let me stick to the jokes.
Yeah, your jokes aren't very good though, are they? this looks kind of interesting. So I want to see if this will do what I think it's going to do, and let me record some audio, because it looks like I can start, pause, resume, stop. It's got a lot of stuff going on here. Let's just have a look at it first. So I should be able to, I think I need to do a native install force. In fact, I'm just going to do iOS, and yes, that should. Cool. And then I want to do native run iOS. Ignore the fact that these commands look slightly different to what I was using before. They're the same thing under the hood. Native run iOS watch. That makes sense to me. Cool. I'm going to use the same simulator that I'm using already, because that's open. We're not going to have to wait for it. So this should come up pretty quickly. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. If we can just demonstrate this working, I think that'll be enough. And then we can let everybody enjoy the rest of their chicken. If it's going to move any faster. This is the problem with building native applications. It does take some time, but we've managed to get this down as much as we can. Like, this is actually not too bad. So microphone, we said that's going to be in here somewhere. Oh, what's this? We've got fully native UI elements, liquid class, and all of that jazz. Isn't that cool? That's all being rendered from PHP. And yeah, this is our microphone screen. So we should be able to record and do some stuff in here, as we saw through, like, I skimmed through the code, I know, but let's just, yep, native prompt to record. Okay, we'll allow that. Oh, it's gone straight into recording. Cool. What should I say? Oh no, I've never been on air before. What do I say, Shane?
I think you did it.
Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this back, but it did record it, and it all live updated the UI for us, even though this is just a JavaScript application in a web view. It's quiet. It's very quiet.
I hear nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can tell you, I hear my own voice and it's terrible. So you're lucky that you don't have to deal with that again. And that's it. That's native audio recording through PHP. Or, well, in this case, also through JavaScript, because we've just used Vue, and you can do exactly the same in React. So you can use whatever technology you want to use on top of native PHP to build incredibly rich native applications today. Like, it's very, very easy to get going. And I think within just 30 minutes, we've demonstrated some of the really cool things about native PHP and the speed at which you can travel. So how do you get on with this? How do you learn more about it? And how do you start? You go to nativephp.com/mobile. And although this side says bring your Laravel skills, you can bring your existing web skills to native mobile apps. And for the Orlando PHP /JS /Python TypeScript and every other represented group that's here today, you can get a discount on native PHP licenses with this code Orlando PHP. That'll get you 20% off your first year. So please go and check that out. And I think I've got another slide here which may be irrelevant, but I'm going to go to it anyway. Oh no, this one's very relevant. These are the other places that you can go. So please sign up for the newsletter so that you can get the latest updates from us. Please join the Discord so you can get help and support from the 1,000-strong community of native PHP developers that are now using this to build native applications. And if you're interested in more, come and check out our partnership program. That's it. That's it from me. Shane, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I want to show a little wowness. So if you don't mind, I'll share my screen just for a moment.
Please do.
Share screen, entire screen. Here it is. All right, you can see where I've been getting my really awesome jokes from. What you see here on the left, though, is my actual device plugged in. I just got it up here so that you guys can see what I'm seeing on the screen. And so we're always breaking ground on new APIs and different things that we can do to interact with the anything that's really native on the device. And so recently we pushed out version 2 for native PHP, which included an API for the QR code scanner. So I've got like a bunch of QR codes. It does barcodes too. It's not really picky. You can actually change the different kinds of formats that you want to specify here. This will right now scan for anything. And I'm just going to click start continuous scan. Here's my, this is my office. So I'm going to just really quick pan over to a QR code. And there you go. So this is actually in continuous mode. And so every time it flashes green, it's picking up another unique barcode. I've got it set to like just unique things. And so what's really nice is this is using the native device functionality. This is using MLKit under the hood for the barcode scanner. And when I click the X here on the top, you can see it's put all of that stuff back into, and this is again using Vue just to interface with the backend library that we've created here. But all of those QR codes that we just scanned are all here. And so there's always more that we're working on and adding to it. There's plenty here as Simon showed you, like all of this stuff here on the side. This is our kitchen sink. This is kind of our, more or less proof of concept for all of these things working. But biometrics, geolocation, getting like native device information. This is on Android, but again, the same code works Android and iOS. So that's free. You can check this out. You go to our website. There's links right on the homepage to download this in test flight on iOS, and it's on the Play Store as well.
Okay, cool. So I have a question. So I was reading through the documentation. So on the desktop version, it's Electron.
Correct.
Then you said you have a native compiler for mobile. Could you talk a little bit about the licensing? I was reading that, like if we don't need to put the app in the App Store, do we or don't we need the license? Like how that works?
Right now, to get the code, to get access to native PHP, you need a license just to download the library and install it and create applications. So yeah, and the license comes with a fee. That's to cover the development cost and help us continue sustainably supporting this project. We're hoping to do something about that in the future, but keep our finger on the pulse on that one to see what comes out in the next while.
Well, do you want to mention too Bifrost?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. But now that you've said it, you go for it.
So, sure. I'm really excited. Bifrost is actually the name of our company. If you understand any of or remember like the Marvel movies, Thor and stuff, Bifrost was the rainbow bridge that connected Asgard and Midgard, the land of the gods and the land of mere mortals or Earth. Bifrost, I'll share my screen just real quick on that too. Bifrost is really what we want people sort of going to initially. Anyway, which because we do want this to eventually be a free thing that everybody can just use the native PHP side. So what we're doing with Bifrost is the build service. So once you've created an application with native PHP, you can connect your GitHub repository, and this will do all of the build service for you. So if you're on a Windows computer and you want to build for iOS, you can do that through through Bifrost, and we'll distribute those out to the Play Store. That's how we're managing all of our apps internally now. We've got several hundred people on here now, and several thousand builds have gone on. We just released this back in September, and pricing is much less, I think, than just buying just a license. And all of these plans come with a free license, so you get at least a mini license, which allows you to distribute at least that one app, because we want to put that power in your hands. And this is kind of our way of going towards like, how can we work full time and pay our bills, and try to get this thing into more people's hands. So this is probably just a lower entry point to get in. So check out bifrost.nativephp.com. There's links on the nativephp.com website as well.
We got a question.
We have a
from
question.
the audience.
Yay.
Go ahead.
Hello, weary traveler.
Hello. Hi. My name is Rahul. I'm curious, at what point did you guys decide to go full-time on native PHP?
Good question. I went full-time back in October, so only a couple of months ago. I've been working on native PHP as a project for about 3 years now, so a little while into the project. Shane?
Yeah, I started, I went full-time, I believe it was March or April. It was just consuming every corner of my brain to where I couldn't hold a job. And so I'm just going to jump in and just go for it. I was working for a friend of ours at the time, just doing some consulting work, and he was pretty flexible with his time, and it just bled into more hours were going into this. It just, made more sense to spend more time on this. Oh, you're muted.
Go ahead.
Oh, did you guys have much traction at that point when you decided to go full-time, or it was more like you're going to go full-time and then you're going to give everything you have?
No, we're pretty public about like the numbers. So Simon spoke at Laracon in Amsterdam, the beginning of February, the 2nd or 3rd or something like that. And immediately we were selling licenses, I think for $250 at the time. There was no work being done really yet, publicly at least, on Android. Android came out. I had that piece done towards the end of February. And so we started talking about this, and sales started picking up pretty well. So right now we've got about 3,000 licenses out there in the wilds sold. And I think we had about 1,000, at least 1,000 or so when I went full time back in April or so. You're still muted. Or muted again, I should say.
Oh, that sounds awesome. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we have
Thanks for the questions.
One more. Hold on.
One more.
Remember, the only bad question is the one unasked.
No, this will be a bad question. So what would you say, just to summarize, let's say that I'm coming from React Native. So I guess this is an obvious question you get a lot. Like, what would be the main differences between using React Native versus this?
So if you're coming from React Native, you already have skills in React Native. The main difference that you'll see straight away is, for one, right now, this is very dependent on a web view. And for second point is it's missing a lot of features that React Native has right now. But those things are on the cusp of change. So we've got two pieces of work that are going on at the moment. One you've already seen a part of, which is the native UI component. So we're actually able to start rendering native UI, truly native UI components. There's no like middle layer where we're just telling PHP to call out to the system and use the native components that are there and just render fully native stuff. So full native speed, etc., coming from that, because we're relying upon the system's UI rendering layer and not doing anything in PHP. But that's coming. We're going to expand that even further so you can do all sorts of custom native UI stuff. And the second piece, which we haven't really been able to demonstrate yet, but we've started teasing people with, is plugins. And that's the thing that's really going to allow the whole community to start building their own native functionality and exposing it through our PHP and JavaScript layer very, very easily. So there's not going to be layers of misdirection trying to figure out how to get native functionality working through React Native. It's just a few simple lines of PHP, all the Swift and Kotlin code you could ever want, and just do all of the native things that you want to do. And so at that point, you're going to be able to build native applications with native features, with native UI, faster than any other tool allows you to on the market right now.
Awesome.
To add to that, I would say too, we're not trying to hide the fact that we're new and we're, this is relatively young project. It's really just the two of us, and it's combined full time has only been a couple months. So I think if you're already doing React Native, it would probably feel a little lackluster as far as what you're capable of doing at this point. We're not going anywhere, though. We have enough traction to keep ourselves sustained for the foreseeable future. We have a lot of adoption. We have a lot of people reporting bugs, issues, et cetera, to us and fixing those. And we have really big plans like this plugins. We're looking to release that sometime in January, as well as something, if you're familiar with Expo, like an Expo Go sort of app. So you can just run like a simple Laravel new, just that first part, and scan a QR code and start developing right away with hot module reloading. We have proofs of concept already for that. All that stuff's coming too. So I think once we get there and we get, we'll have more adoption by then, certainly, and we'll be able to grow our team a bit more. We're coming for React Native. I'm also not going to hide that either. We're young, but we're coming for it. We already know we're on their radar a little bit, so that's exciting enough for us to keep going as well. So we're young now. Maybe in 6 months, a year, it might be a different story.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay.
That wasn't a terrible question. That was good.
Yeah, I like it.
Are there any other
You have a
questions?
little.
No?
Nothing curious.
No questions? Okay. Well, Jenny, go say goodbye to. Sorry. She's.
Hi. Okay. Yeah. No, this is a really cool presentation. I'm glad that you
Thanks.
have. You're basically going after the. Sorry, I'm like.
Too much
All right.
chicken.
Too much chicken. I'm in chicken coma right now.
Yeah.
No, you're going after the React Native folks. That's
Well, we would say Flutter, but they're not any competition. The way I see it. Just saying. I mean, I could boot a VM too, whatever.
This is exciting stuff. Yeah, thank you for demoing out, and it was quick too. Like within 30 minutes, like you were able to show us something that people can build. You know,
I can go faster.
it was the Wi-Fi. It was just giving you some trouble. So
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, thanks for bearing with us. And thank you very much for giving us some time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we thank you so much. And when I was working in Italy, I was consulting for people in Los Angeles, so I was 9 hours ahead, and they would take their time coming, and I'd be like, after 20 coffees, like, could I please go to sleep now? So I know how it feels to like stay up late, to work with the Americans. So
It's fine.
appreciate
Do it for a living.
I'll leave you guys with one last joke. You ready? What do you get if you cross a snowman with a vampire? Frostbite.
Frostbite.
oh my goodness.
On that note, happy holidays.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and presenting. Happy holidays.
Our pleasure.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay.
So do we want to bring?
Yeah, so
We're
Raul,
all
would you like to
live.
stay live while we, and you do your presentation and then it's connected to YouTube?
Yeah, sure.
Where are your
Okay.
slides?
Yeah, so I can send a link of them
Okay.
to.
Canva.
Oh, it's in Canva?
So.
Okay, so we have another speaker here in person. Go ahead and set up while I talk to our virtual audience. We have Raul, who is a CS student, senior, I believe, at UCF in Orlando. He'll give us an intro about himself, but we will put him on the live stream as well. So then his presentation is recorded, and then we're going to put his slides up. We're going to put a link up for his slides, actually. So let's see. I'm going to mute myself while we get set up. We're going to have a 3-minute intermission in case our online folks need to get dinner or snacks or use the toilet. doing both LinkedIn and YouTube. I think sharing on the Rosenthal.
Okay, everybody, we're back.
But the Rosenthal is like one.
Okay, so Raul's going to come and talk to us. And let's bring. Okay. Okay. So or do we want to do it like that? No, let's do it like this. Okay. So you just need to be here. Thanks to the native PHP guys. And now we have.
So we'll keep this one full screen so you can see yourself.
Yep.
Okay, so should I stand here?
You can stand wherever you'd like.
Yeah.
I think you
Right.
unmuted us already.
Yep.
So
Yep. Oh yeah. No, we're live.
You are live.
Okay, switch
You
the
only
slides
use this
to
one.
this one.
Yeah.
So I press.
So don't
right.
touch this one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I don't know if I should. I keep looking at this phone. Okay. Hi, my name is Rahul, and I'm a student at the University of Central Florida, graduating this spring with my degree in computer science. So before I start, I have a little bit of a confession to make. So I actually can hardly remember the last time I programmed without AI. So that sounds kind of terrifying, especially thinking about that nowadays this is so integrated that I can barely even remember not having this tool. But for my generation of developers, that's our reality. So GPT 3.5 came out my first year of college. So my first time programming, pretty much, aside from some like web development courses during high school. And as it came out, it pretty much transformed entirely how I built, worked, and learned. So I know for many developers, they're now adopting AI mid-career. But for me and many other people, for many of my other fellow students, it has been shaping our career from the very beginning. That one. Yep. And also, it's kind of crazy to think about, but the career path that we all were pursuing, we thought this was the stable path. We thought this would be fine. If we do this, we'll be able to get a job out of college. We'll be able to make good money. And it's now very different because now this path is now full of uncertainty, fear, and self-doubt. Okay. So my generation of developers, I'll refer to them as AI native developers. So basically developers who have learned their entire foundation with AI alongside them, with AI as a foundational building block for their entire software development career. And we're going to take a little bit of a look into what can we learn from their experiences, both the good and the bad parts. So some of the good parts about becoming a developer alongside AI is that we're effectively a blank slate because we don't have any experience going into this. We don't have previous habits or workflows that we have to either unlearn or adapt. Instead, all of our workflows are built with AI from the ground up. So we don't have the extra friction of having to fight back our muscle memory or fight back the ways we've done things for so long. And amongst all of us, we experiment a lot. So every time a new tool comes out, we're immediately using the new tool. We're very curious. We speak to our friends. Even recently when Google Anti-Gravity came out, a bunch of my friends, we all reached out to each other, asked if we had tried the tool, if we liked the tool, if we're going to replace our current workflow using this tool entirely. So that level of being able to swap out whatever you're using so quickly is definitely unique to our generation. Because we don't already have preferences. We already don't have solidified workflows where it would be a big hassle to switch out these tools. But instead, we're able to adapt very quickly, and we're also able to pick up new skills very quickly. So many of the skills that we had begun learning last year actually feel very outdated this year, but we've gotten very used to that. So a lot of the things we would self-study to try and get ahead, just a couple months later, there's going to be something that comes out where that's no longer important anymore, or that has already been like automated by somebody. And beyond that, we embrace AI into our personal lives as well. So many of us, we use AI beyond just coding or writing emails. We use it for many different things. Like, for example, I've used it to teach me how to cook over the past 2 years. I've used it to do research, to help me learn to invest. I've used it to practice interviews in the car using voice mode. I've used it all across my life. And that makes it a little bit different because we're so familiar with AI, it becomes like a native language to us versus learning a second language. But with that comes some costs. So there are definitely a lot of issues being provided AI during this formative time in our lives. So one thing I've noticed especially is that when we get ahead of ourselves using AI, that leads to a lot of gaps in our foundational knowledge. I've noticed other students, and myself included, that a lot of the time we won't have the same knowledge we would have had if we didn't have AI. Because every time there's a gap, we use AI to fix it for us, but we don't actually learn how it did that all the time. And because we're able to build way beyond our actual ability, it gives us a bit of a false sense of confidence sometimes. So if you're able to build something really cool, really fast using AI, but you actually don't really understand fully how you did it, or how you would do it again, or how you can apply those concepts somewhere else, you end up having this sense of confidence that isn't truly justified. And because you're not really struggling as much as you would have without it, you're not really learning as much either. So a lot of our learning comes from when we have these really difficult issues, or even just small debugging moments where we actually start to thoroughly understand what we're working with, versus using AI and telling it to fix it for us. So we don't really get the same understanding or the depth of knowledge when we rely too much on AI. And as we depend more on AI, and as these small gaps compound, AI can become both a crutch during both development and also our personal lives. So I've noticed the downside of us integrating AI so deeply in our personal lives as well is that we can get dependent on it there too. So not just with coding, but even just like everyday decisions, I've noticed that in myself as well. Like I'll immediately be faced with a decision, but I'll know exactly what I want to do and I'll have a justification for it. But I'll reach out to AI both for validation of what I want to do, but also because I need to see what it's going to say. I need to see what side it has. So then now every time I'm making a decision, I'm dependent on this AI to either validate what I want to do, or it's going to tell me something entirely different. And now I'm suddenly making decisions based on what this is telling me. And then back with development, one of the traps that we can fall into is that when we use AI too much, we offload too much responsibility onto it. We lose kind of our ownership over what we're building as developers. So rather than being a developer using AI, we end up outsourcing our development to AI. And then as the code starts building, it becomes more and more foreign to you. And then at that point, you may as well have hired somebody to build this for you. And if you're a developer, this is definitely a trap you want to avoid. And for many of us students, as we're building projects, we start getting to that line very quickly to where we no longer are really controlling what we're building, but we're having this build it for us. And then it's given to us and we're like, oh, we made this? So there are definitely some costs that come to being so integrated with AI. And one thing I noticed is that AI, it'll really test who you are. So if you're somebody who's very ambitious, you're very driven and already productive, it's most likely going to make you more productive and give you more success or speed up the success you would have already had. And if you're the opposite, if you frequently take shortcuts, or maybe you would have been using Chegg instead of ChatGPT, it's just making you faster in that regard. So it's hurting you faster than you would have before. And I've noticed the students around me, many of them who, even our first year at school, the ones I knew would be successful, they use AI to get that success very quickly. And the ones who would take those shortcuts, they would use that to take those shortcuts even faster. And then you can see even years later how that plays out those people who had been using it productively from the very beginning are definitely way more successful than they could have been before, and also relative to those other students. But at the same time, most of us are a mix of both of these things. Like, especially myself, I've noticed that I definitely use it as a shortcut sometimes, and I definitely use it to become more productive. So it's about finding a balance between using it to make you better, but also using it to better allocate your time towards what you want to do. So entering the job market, especially as a junior entering like the junior developer job market, it's full of uncertainty and fear. In fact, every time I tell somebody that I'm a computer science major, they apologize to me. In fact, during like one club meeting, they asked like, who here is computer science? I was the only person who raised my hand. And afterwards, I talked to 10 other computer science majors. So they were scared to raise their hand. And I didn't really understand why. I mean, I understood that it's definitely rough out there, but I didn't really understand to the extent that other people were viewing it as well. So figuring out how to navigate all of this uncertainty in the job market definitely took some strategy. So one way I managed to keep my head on straight and be able to land full-time offers in this job market was actually applying some of the skills I learned from learning poker this past year. So there's a couple of key concepts that a professional poker player will use to be able to be a professional, to make money long-term. And poker is a game of skill and variance. So it's very similar to applying for jobs in that regard. So you can have the skill, you can have the resume, but there's an element to luck that you can't really beat. So one of the most important concepts is focusing on the process rather than the outcome. So focusing on the decisions you can make regardless of what the outcome is. So a professional poker player, they can play a hand very well and still lose. They can play a really bad hand very well, or they can play a hand very poorly and still win. But what matters is how they play long-term. If they play well long-term, regardless of the short-term variance, they're going to end up being profitable. So the same concept with taking opportunities and applying to jobs. So if I work on my resume and I don't get the job, I go to an event and I don't meet anybody, or if I go to a conference or a career fair and nothing really happens, it's important not to really think about that result, but rather that you made the right decision by taking this opportunity, by working on your resume, by going and meeting these people. So, and then another concept is having an edge. So for actually getting the job, this is important. So a professional poker player, by edge, I mean that is kind of your advantage relative to who you're playing against. So you only need the slightest edge against the people you play against to win long term. And a professional poker player, they create that by selecting what tables they play at, who they play against, their preparation, and their strategy. And that's kind of similar to applying for jobs. You find your edge by determining what your skill set is, what makes you unique or what gives you an advantage over other applicants, and then finding the right companies to apply for. So you apply for companies where your skill set gives you that edge, and then you apply that over a large sample size or a large volume of companies. So you need a very large number of attempts for this edge to actually beat out variance. So you first have to figure out what your skill set is. You have to find the right companies where this will give you that edge. Then you have to apply a large amount of times, or you have to go to a large amount of events, conferences, for it to really beat out variance in the end. And then once you do get the job, now there's a question of how or what do you need to learn to enter the workforce, or what do you need to be taught? I think juniors should be focused on learning soft skills and strategies rather than syntax. I think AI forces new developers to become leaders early on in their careers because they're effectively managing teams of AI tools rather than just coding. And that requires being able to break down a problem, being able to communicate requirements, and being able to get a group of people to actually accomplish something. But in this case, you're getting a group of different AI tools to actually accomplish a goal. So that means these communication skills can actually end up becoming more important than hard technical skills in many cases. especially because hard technical skills you can learn through books and videos, and you can use AI to teach you as well. But these soft skills are difficult to learn unless you have experience and mentorship. So I think as juniors enter the workforce, we should be focused on teaching them these soft skills and strategy, being able to understand the bigger picture, break it down, communicate, rather than focusing on syntax and code and implementation that AI can handle. So to wrap things up, I would say for developers, it's important to be open-minded and curious towards AI, like a student would be, but also be cautious at the same time. Because if you're not able to adapt, then it's getting very difficult now because companies are adopting AI so rapidly. But at the same time, if you're not careful, you're going to fall into one of those categories earlier, where you end up becoming too dependent on AI. You start losing your own skill set because you're outsourcing this to AI. And for students, I would say being able to learn to work with uncertainty means finding your edge and then applying it repeatedly. I would say for seniors, focus on teaching new developers these soft skills and strategies rather than syntax. Because I think those are the skills that are going to be most important as we start adopting AI further and further. All right, thank you for listening. So this is a QR code for my LinkedIn if you'd like to stay connected.
I have a question.
Yes.
What made you want to talk about AI specifically tonight and like your journey through it?
I was kind of thinking, what about my experience could be unique, or what can I speak about like that I know enough about? So I think being positioned, with AI, like GPT 3.5 coming out as I was entering college and learning everything I know about being a developer with AI along my side, I think that experience is important to understand both for students and also developers already in the workforce. So I think it's definitely a lot of changes happening. So this new generation of developers entering, you're finding a lot of these problems, but also a lot of these good things as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Anyone have any questions? No? Yeah, I think it's fascinating from your perspective. Like, I just think it's fascinating.
Thank
We
you.
all use AI personally, or I'm assuming we use like all types of AI personally and professionally for different purposes, right? So
Yeah.
I agree with you in the aspect of like just having it give me another opinion, like whether I'm bouncing it off my best friend or getting like someone's unbiased, unemotional opinion. I still want to believe that I'm thinking logically and emotionally.
Yeah. It's hard to balance that. That's definitely something I use it a lot for, and then I catch myself thinking, why am I asking it such a simple question that I should be able to decide on my own? But then there are many times where it is really helpful and it helps me make a better decision. So it's definitely really interesting, especially going through school and having to figure all of this out, figuring out the right balance. So.
I think early on as well, like AI was like your cheerleader, and how it's gotten better, or at least if you give it like a prompt to be like, don't support me on this, try not to.
Be more critical.
It's gotten a lot better on being like, I don't think that's the best idea. But if you do decide to do this.
Yeah.
Overly ambitious.
That's interesting how that works too, because sometimes like I'll notice it'll like convince me one way, and then I'll fully go that way, but then I start going a different way and it'll convince me that different way too. So then I'm not sure. So what side is it on? So at first it wanted me to go do this way. Now it's fully going this way.
It's whatever you believe you're on.
Yeah. It like reveals what you actually want to happen sometimes. It's like when you like flip the coin and then you realize you're either hoping for heads or tails as it comes down.
Out of all the tools, which ones do you use? Like, I guess the most, is it chat?
Which tools?
Is it...
So I think I've tried using most of them. So especially with students, we get a lot of free year-long subscriptions for most of these.
Okay.
So like for programming, I've used Copilot, Claude Code, Cursor, Anti-Gravity, like all of these ones, they all have a Perplexity for like research. I've used ChatGPT Plus for, I think, this entire time now. Gemini.
Do you find one more like better for certain prompts, like certain things, than the other? Or
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
I think they definitely each have their strengths. I think for myself personally, I use like Claude Code very frequently for programming. And then I use ChatGPT's voice mode very frequently, like when I'm preparing for an interview or trying to do something that requires like back and forth speech. Gemini's image generator, I think, is the best one now. That's the one I use for all of these images on here. So they definitely all have their own strengths, and it's pretty like useful to be able to use a bunch of different ones and then figure out which one you like best for each use case.
Found any use from like local models, like with Llama or that kind of stuff?
I haven't really used many local models myself. I know using them for like development is a different thing, but like for just like personal life and use, I haven't used any local models. I think probably the main reason I would use a local model is if I had some information I didn't want to share with like one of these big providers, but I think that's actually another thing. I think it's definitely my generation is very much not thinking about the consequences of giving a lot of our information to like OpenAI or any of these other big providers. So there's definitely a lot of people who are putting a lot of details about their lives, about themselves into those. But what about you? Have you used the local models as well?
Not much, no. I haven't really used the AI that much.
Okay.
I was just curious if they tried them.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd say for personal use, not really.
I have a question. How have your professors been, or how have you found your professors since they're learning this the same time as you are? Your professors are teaching you as this is happening, and when they were in the job market, that wasn't there. So how have they been? Have they been optimistic, pessimistic? Do you find comfort in what they're telling you? Are they just as nervous or scared or in the clouds as everyone else?
That's a good question. So there's definitely a handful of professors that have felt one way or the other. So I've had professors so far that have assigned us assignments. So for my operating systems class, one of our assignments, we had to build a program, but we could only prompt to build it. And then our submission was the link to our ChatGPT history. So some of them are experimenting with new ways to grade these assignments, because before, pretty much every assignment he got would be 100, because every student was using AI to do it. So then he figured, why not just let them use AI as they are? But now I actually get to go back and see how they prompted it. How did they get to this final result? And I've had professors as well that are using it to grade and create assignments, slides. So some of them are using it to grade these giant documents we have to write. Then they're giving us the AI analysis afterwards. Some of them are generating the content and slides and the exams using AI. I think some of them, as far as jobs go, most of them are pretty, I guess I would say fearful. So some of them are more fearful. So they definitely understand that it's a lot more difficult for our generation now. And it's definitely not the same as when they were first getting their first job. But yeah, I think there's definitely a bit of a spectrum for how much they embrace it. So they're kind of experimenting right now, as far as my professors, to see what works and what doesn't work. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Have you spoken to career developers, like people that have been doing this for a while and have seen so much change in the field of computer science, and now this recognition of AI? Like, have you seen how they talk about it?
Yeah, I think most of the conversations I've had there as well are also, they kind of accept, it's very difficult and you can only do what you can, pretty much. Like, it's very difficult out there, but here are some things you can do to like at least put your best foot forward. It's kind of like everyone kind of accepts that, and then they're just focused on, okay, but what are we going to do about it? Or what can you do about it?
Any last minute questions? Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Like,
Thank you.
Okay, so
Are any of you in the job market?
thanks everybody for
Like looking
coming,
for a
and
job?
we're gonna sign off for now from Orlando.
Sorry, Chris. I totally talked over you. Okay.